Hey guys, what is up? It's Kat here. Today's video is going to be one that we have talked about making a lot on this channel, and we debated whether we wanted to do a live stream or a video, but with the timing and everything, we wanted to just sit down tonight. We are finally getting around to it, and that is our debate regarding whether Obi-Wan and Lord Vader should be facing off face to face in this alleged showdown of a century in the Kenobi's TV series. I believe that is the direct quote, the showdown of the century. So regardless, I think it's safe to say that many of us were speculating that Obi-Wan and Anakin were going to be having some sort of face-to-face clash, or perhaps a dream, a vision fight sequence, you know, something that wasn't in real life, a forced FaceTime, as I have kept calling it, as we saw in The Last Jedi, and more specifically The Rise of Skywalker, between Kylo Ren and Rey. There was a whole lot of controversy, whole lot of debates, whole lot of people speculating and trying to figure out what this showdown could be. It has become a divisive topic, with some people believing that Kenobi and Vader should face off face to face and have some sort of confrontation or altercation that precedes their meeting in A New Hope, and others thinking, no way, that should not be what happens, and maybe she wasn't even talking about Vader and Kenobi, but perhaps it's Kenobi versus Darth Maul, you know. And so Tom and I have been wanting to weigh in on this, and now with the Kenobi hype, it's getting real. There's alleged rumors that there's a trailer coming out soon, and so Tom and I have been wanting to sit down and share our thoughts, because we very quickly came to realize that we are not on the same side of this argument regarding whether or not Kenobi and Vader should face off in a showdown of the century in the Kenobi series. And so Tom should be joining me any minute. I don't know where he is. What the heck? Why are you dressed like a lawyer?
We're getting after it. Okay.
Oh my god, did you make notes?
Are you starting off?
Did you make notes?
Starting off? You start off. It's your channel. You can start off.
I did not. I didn't make notes. Well, I guess I will start by presenting my side of the argument, and I am on the stance. I don't think that Kenobi and Vader should face off, because I feel like it illegitimizes and takes away, it detracts, I feel like, from the significance of their meeting in A New Hope, because that is presented to be a scenario in which you know that this is the first time they are seeing each other since their final altercation together on Mustafar, and I just feel like that moment holds so much more power if that is their next meeting following Mustafar, Revenge of the Sith. And I am just saying this, I'm just speaking words now, so this is all like, I don't know anything for sure, but in my mind, I feel like George Lucas at the time did not have a Kenobi show planned. He literally had this film and didn't know how much further it was gonna go. I mean, he did obviously have like Vader and Anakin's backstory and whatnot. He had things planned out, but George Lucas, when he was filming A New Hope, did not anticipate that there was going to be a series dedicated to Ben Kenobi following the betrayal of Anakin Skywalker and the events of Order 66 and their final showdown on Mustafar. That is why I'm so firm in this stance. And I am by no way a purist, and I am by no way, obviously, I revere George Lucas. We all do, clearly. That's the bulk of my argument. When they were filming that movie, he did not have this show in mind. And I believe that he had intended for that to be their first showdown following the events in Revenge of the Sith. How could he have foreseen this was going to happen? And that was not in his mind. When he created the prequels and wrote Revenge of the Sith and wrote the Battle of the Heroes and all of that on Mustafar, I'm sure he had that linked with their confrontation in A New Hope, thinking this is what Vader is referring to when he sees Ben Kenobi face to face again. He is referring to that moment when he was pre-crisp Vader and Kenobi ended him and put him in the suit, and it has so much more weight if that confrontation in A New Hope is the first time that he sees him again after that. Share your rebuttal. Go ahead.
So I can summarize that entire spiel in a four-word phrase. Living in the past. Everything she said was about actions that have taken place and decisions that have been made. Let's see, 2005, 2010, 2015, 2020. Over 15 years ago. At a minimum, everything she just talked about is based off of decisions made over 15 years ago. And so she's thinking about what the original intent was, which is to be respected. You should be respecting George Lucas's vision and the characters. However, we're talking about a show that's coming out now, and a show that takes into consideration what's been in play before it, and what has happened already in its existence in canon. And so the main question is, what is the better story to tell? A story where Obi-Wan stays put on Tatooine for 6 one-hour-long episodes, and then Anakin appears, Hayden appears in flashbacks, or, shots of the turmoil Vader is dealing with independently, which all of that is great. And if that happens, then that's okay. If they somehow come up with a way to create conflict through the series. However, I think that there is one intent with this show, and that is to make a huge impact on the Star Wars canon and the Star Wars timeline. They know that this is the biggest show and the most requested thing since the sale of Lucasfilm to the Walt Disney Company. And so the way that this story can have the biggest impact on the canon is if the Vader Obi-Wan meeting is in real time, face to face, with life or death consequences on the line. And I will give you many a reason why. So first off, this all can happen and still have a seamless connection bridge between episode 3 and episode 4 and the original trilogy. Yes, the biggest counter argument to them meeting face to face, like you said, is Vader's line saying, "When I last left you, I was but the learner, but now I'm the master." That's the biggest counter argument. However, if they do this duel, obviously Obi-Wan comes out on top. If Vader comes out on top in this meeting 10 years after Revenge of the Sith and 10 years before A New Hope, then there's no more original trilogy. Obi-Wan's dead, Luke and Leia get captured, and the Empire reigns supreme until the Force wills another Force user to come and take the place of the Empire and to overthrow the Emperor. And so obviously Vader cannot and will not win the fight. That would be canon breaking. However, if Obi-Wan beats him and leaves him in a pile of his own anger and rage and torn up and shattered, then that line in A New Hope still applies, and it's still 10 years later. And then that combines together with the line from Return of the Jedi, where they're on Dagobah, and Obi-Wan says, "He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil." The reunion of Obi-Wan and Anakin and Vader will be, if it is face to face, it takes those two lines and combines them perfectly. Obi-Wan beats him. He's left there in anger and rage and ruin. So Obi-Wan is still clearly in a better headspace and better mentally fit than Vader is. And then when they reunite 10 years later in A New Hope, Vader has taken that fight, taken that lessons learned, and become more, mentally calm and stable like he is in the original trilogy. Sure, he has rage and he chokes people out, but he's not Revenge of the Sith Anakin, completely blinded by his rage. I think that line is important, but the more machine now than man, when we leave them off in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan doesn't know what happened to Vader. He doesn't know what happens to Anakin. He doesn't know. So I believe that the starting point and the main initiation of the conflict in this show is going to be Obi-Wan's realization that Vader is alive and what he has become. I'm not finished. So that's going to be the main kickoff of the conflict. But then the question is, does Obi-Wan leave Tatooine or does he not? And it's a very easy answer. He has to leave Tatooine.
Yes.
I'm not finished yet. He has to leave Tatooine. If he doesn't leave Tatooine, then Luke is in immediate danger, and he would never want to leave Luke in a state of immediate danger.
May I speak?
No. There has to be a good enough reason to pull Obi-Wan from Tatooine. Obi-Wan would never draw the Empire and Vader onto Tatooine. He would never do that. That would go against the pledge that he made to Bail Organa and Yoda at the end of episode 3. And so the whole series, I think, is going to be based around this turning point for Obi-Wan. He has to make a gut-wrenching decision to leave Tatooine, and there's only one explanation for why he would leave Tatooine. And that is if the other twin that they promised to protect and keep secret from the Empire is in danger, which would be Leia. And this is where Bail comes to play. And this is perfectly set halfway between the two movies, episode 3 and episode 4, where it makes perfect sense in the timeline. The Empire's grown in strength, there's little hope in the galaxy, and the rebellion rumors and Bail becoming more rebellious and all of these things have been building up over 10 years. And so the Empire at this point is going to put a blockade on Alderaan, try and take control over Alderaan. There's going to be some military activity over Alderaan that's going to worry Bail, and Bail is going to summon for Obi-Wan to come and protect and keep watchful eye over Leia while the Empire occupies Alderaan, because they fear that she is in life-threatening danger, or danger, even worse, of exposure that she is the daughter of Vader. But then there's one follow-on question to that, and that is, there's 2 Jedi Masters out there. There are 2 well-known surviving Jedi Masters that were both in the room when the decision was made to split the twins and protect them. So the question is, and a question that needs to be answered, is why couldn't Yoda go to Alderaan and protect Leia? That way Obi-Wan could stay on Tatooine. Why couldn't Yoda go to Alderaan, be summoned by Bail, and protect her, while Obi-Wan stays on Tatooine and keeps watch over Luke?
Can I answer that?
No. That answer, I'm less concerned about how they answer. I'm more concerned about pulling Obi-Wan, like having them put Leia in that much of danger where Obi-Wan has no choice but to leave Luke and go to Alderaan. And so, to summarize, this is going to be the outline of the show, in my opinion. We're going to open the show, Obi-Wan's going to be on Tatooine. He's going to be watching Luke, doing a daily routine, and then he's going to see something's going to spark his interest with, he's going to become alerted to the Empire's presence on Alderaan. There's going to be some galaxy-wide imperial change in protocol or tactics of controlling the galaxy or military occupation increase or something. There's going to be some imperial decree that is going to become well known to the audience and to Obi-Wan. And then that will have him realize that Alderaan is now in severe danger. Tatooine's in the Outer Rim. Tatooine is not a huge concern. But Alderaan is like a first world, civilized, wealthy system that is part of the Empire. The Imperial Senate reigns supreme over Alderaan. And so he's going to realize, and he's going to start thinking about, okay, the Empire's taking interest in Alderaan, Leia's in danger. And then that's when he gets summoned by Bail. And Bail says, you need to come. Vader is here. Leia is in danger. And then that's when Obi-Wan makes the decision, and I'm sure he consults with Yoda, I'm sure he consults with Qui-Gon, and they're going to come together and make a decision that it's best for the interest of protecting both children that there is Jedi presence as backup to protect Leia. And then that's when he goes. Now, they could maybe get away with it where maybe Leia is, Leia and Bail are off Alderaan, and then they rendezvous with them there. Like, I guess they don't necessarily have to be on Alderaan, but the point is Leia is in danger. Bail summons him, and he consults with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, or in Yoda, and then Obi-Wan leaves to protect Leia. And then the peak moment of the show comes when Vader and Leia are face to face, and rather than Vader get even a hint of a sense of Force energy and Force relationship and bond between him and his daughter, Obi-Wan reveals himself as a distraction to save Leia. And then all thoughts of Leia, all thoughts of Bail, all thoughts of Alderaan, all thoughts of anything that he was doing instantly get washed away because his rage and his memories from 10 years ago on Revenge of the Sith instantly flood back into his veins. He's enraged. He's furious. He is full of hatred, and it is the duel of a century. And Bail and Leia escape. Obi-Wan leaves Anakin as a burnt metal, metallic, machinic crisp, and then Obi-Wan hides again for the next 10 years and eludes Vader's presence and protects Luke on Tatooine.
Can I follow up with that?
Yes, you go.
1, what makes you think that Vader wouldn't then assume that Bail and Obi-Wan are somehow in cahoots if Obi-Wan magically were to appear while Alderaan was under siege and needed his help? What makes you think he wouldn't have Bail as hostage or then continually try to interrogate him and say, where's Kenobi? He showed up right as you needed him, so clearly you're working with him. What's stopping him from doing that in hunting Bail Organa all the time, or taking him as prisoner and hostage, and literally torturing him to get that information? Because here's the point that I wanted to make at the beginning of your argument. Yes, a showdown that would occur now in this time period between Anakin and Obi-Wan, with Obi-Wan coming out as triumphant again, would psychologically ruin Vader. The psychological torture that would have on him, he would not rest until he found Kenobi. Like, he would literally hunt him down and even, yes, go to Tatooine, like search everywhere to try to find him. It would literally become his life's work. But in A New Hope, we see a completely different Vader. Like, he has moved on from that. He has other priorities, other things to worry about. He doesn't think about Kenobi until he senses him. Like, the Vader that we see in A New Hope is not wrecked. It's not ravaged over this task to hunt and find Kenobi. Ben Kenobi is clearly still out there alive and hiding and chilling on Tatooine in a bubble of comfort and safety that would insinuate that Vader has moved on from that and isn't actively hunting him. Otherwise, Kenobi would have had to planet hop all over the place and wouldn't have been able to watch over Luke. But when we see Vader in A New Hope, he's doing his own thing. He is not actively hunting Jedi anymore. He's got the Inquisitors to do that. If there's there's no Jedi left at that point. And I feel like to get to that point of having moved on, there can't be an altercation with Kenobi in between that, because that would literally torment Vader and bring back his arrogance and the angst and the jealousy and rage that cost him that fight against Kenobi on Mustafar in the first place. Yeah.
Okay, so that's valid. However, that's a very easy thing to take the character and work around. Because I suggested that Vader would just be doing Imperial duty. He's not rage out of his mind hunting for Obi-Wan. It's been 10 years. You'll see him into a similar mindset that you see him in A New Hope, where he's conducting Imperial business, he's level-headed, and this is what's going to make that fight way more impactful, because we're going to see him, and he's going to be similar to A New Hope Vader. He's going to be cold, calculating, menacing, and level-headed. He's not going to be like Kylo, swinging his saber around, smashing into things. He's not going to be screaming at Hux, throwing him against the wall. He's going to be like we see him in A New Hope, because it's been 10 years since Revenge of the Sith. But when Kenobi causes the distraction that ends up saving Leia and Bail, it's going to snap. It's going to snap like a twig. He's going to lose his mind. Way more, like, it's not going to be like A New Hope. And this is where we're going to see the growth of the character. Because the first time he sees Obi-Wan after Revenge of the Sith, he's going to snap. He's going to lose his mind. He's going to go mental. And it's going to be the most ridiculous, ruthless fight we've ever seen in a Star Wars movie. And then we're going to see his growth in A New Hope. When he senses Obi-Wan again, he's going to be like, the last time I lost my cool, I ended up floating around with no armor on, saber cuts all over me. I'm on fire. I have acid on me. I don't know. He's going to be like, he's going to have flashbacks to 10 years ago when they meet in this show. And he's going to be like, I'm learning. He truly feels he's the master. He's conquered the dark side. He's conquered his emotions. And he's not going to go complete apeshit like he does in this show. And so it'll be character growth. He's going to react to the situation in a much calmer manner. And that's ultimately, well, besides Obi-Wan giving himself up, but that's why he stays with him. He genuinely feels like he is the master because he can stay sword to sword with Obi-Wan in A New Hope.
And how do you explain that he wouldn't be hunting Kenobi from that point on?
I think there would be, obviously, it would jump on his priority list immediately after. I think absolutely.
But I think...
However, when we get to him in the show, he's not actively rage fit going after Kenobi. He's not trying to do that. Maybe the Emperor lied to him like he lied about him killing Padme, so that he wouldn't be so obsessed with killing Kenobi. Maybe he said because the Emperor shows up very quickly after Kenobi leaves, maybe he said they intercepted Kenobi and they killed him. And then part of the end of this show is that after they fight, Vader goes back to Palpatine and is like, yo, you lied to me. You lied to me about this. And then maybe the show ends with the Vader-Palpatine fight, because Vader is so mad that Palpatine lied to him. And then he's going to discover that he lied to him about Padme. Like, that could be a whole nother element to this show that spins off of Kenobi and Vader's fight, which I think makes perfect sense.
But do you think that if they were to have a face-to-face meetup in this show, that it would diminish the power of the moment that they have in A New Hope? Because this is the best analogy that I can make, or at least one example. Force Awakens, we see Rey, she's able to use the Force and claim Anakin's lightsaber from Ben Solo, Kylo Ren. That is a powerful moment, and it's like, whoa, that's cool, that is significant. That is like a climactic point in the film for that character, for both of those characters. If, say, 20 plus years from now, 10 years from now, it doesn't even have to be, some new writers come in and they were to say, oh yeah, Rey actually encountered a lightsaber before when she was a scavenger and she was able to use the Force to grab it then. I just inherently think that diminishes the moment that the writers had in the original circumstance, that they said, yes, there is power in this moment because this is the first time it's happening. This is the first time she's grabbing that saber. Same as George Lucas possibly intended. Again, I don't know whether he did or didn't have this confrontation on Mustafar planned out in the back of his mind on the back burner, ready to dive into that at some point, or wanting for that story to come to fruition. But I interpret it as he wrote that moment with the significance and power in mind, thinking this is monumental because this is the first time these characters are meeting again after a huge showdown that they had decades ago. Not with the thought in his mind, like, they probably met once or twice before this, but, you know, this is their more important meeting. No, the stakes are so much higher if it's like, this is the first time that they are seeing each other again in God knows how long. But the last time they saw each other went down, and then they didn't see each other again, and perhaps presumed each other dead for years after that until now. Obviously, Kenobi knew who Vader was. I'm not saying he didn't know that, but I'm just saying that either of them at some point could have thought the other one dead. Even though I believe that Kenobi left Anakin alive for a reason. He would not have just stood there and watched Anakin suffer. He would have gone and ended his pain and misery. But I believe that he walked away for a reason.
Which is what?
Well, I think that he always deep down knew that Anakin was the chosen one and still believed in him. I know people have different theories about that, but I just think it would not be in character for him to let him suffer like that. But what say you about that? About George Lucas sitting down writing that? When he wrote that scene...
I say to you that is 100% his intention.
That they would have met before...
No, that obviously he has episode 3 and episode 4. So episode 3 is built to go with episode 4. However...
things can change.
They can make that moment even more powerful. If they show a moment in Kenobi series where Kenobi sacrifices himself to protect the children and Vader goes complete apeshit, loses his mind, they have the best duel ever choreographed and filmed within the Star Wars universe. And then Vader ends up in ruins. Seeing that moment in A New Hope 10 years later, him not losing his shit, and him staying cool and calm and approaching Obi-Wan with no doubt in his mind that he is the master. He is the superior. Their fight 10 years prior where Obi-Wan demolished him and then disappears, and he takes that information, processes it, becomes better, more mature on the dark side, and shows up and is saying, look, I'm the master. When we last met, I was the learner because he was learning to use the dark side. He was learning how to cope with his new body. He was learning how to deal with his mental turmoil and his new master who's tormenting him every time they speak. He's learning. This show is going to be about Vader learning to deal with his new situation. He's going to be learning his new place in the galaxy. And you could say, yes, it's 10 years later, so hasn't he learned enough? But you tell me that after being burned alive, losing all your limbs, and having your wife dead because you think you killed her, all the Jedi are dead because you killed them, the galaxy is under Imperial rule because you killed and prevented the Sith Lord Chancellor from, you stopped him from dying, and you created everything that's wrong with the galaxy, and everything that is wrong with his own life is his fault. And so I think that you never recover from that. You know, he's continuously learning to deal with his new inner turmoil, his new body, his new religion, the dark side. And so this show is going to be about him learning. And this fight is going to be the true spark plug that says, okay, if I keep going down this path, I'm going to die. I can't continue to fight like this. I can't continue to have this mindset. And then the growth we'll see from the end of Kenobi to A New Hope when he walks into the Tantive 4 without even drawing his lightsaber. Just walks in there. Oh, don't think about Rogue One. He just walks in there and takes control of the Sith, gets straight to business. And then when he fights Obi-Wan, in his head, he's thinking, I'm the master. There's no doubt in his mind that he's going to win this fight. There's no doubt in his mind that he is stronger in the dark side, more mature in the dark side than Obi-Wan ever has been as a Jedi Master in the light side. And I think the room for growth is more there than it could add more weight and more emotional impact than just going from Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope. And I don't think it's disrespectful. I think it's actually extremely respectful, especially when you start throwing in the Clone Wars flashbacks and flashbacks to the temple scene and Anakin raiding the temple. When you throw all that into the show, I think it shows the most respect you could possibly show to anyone who created a universe. If you start retconning things and going down paths that bring incontinuities between the prequels and the original trilogy, then that's not respectful. But this is just adding more emotional weight to lines that are in the original trilogy, I think.
The point of this wasn't to reach a point where we have convinced each other or one of us bows down and agrees with the other's side of the argument, but I feel like we have both. Do you feel like you have shared everything? I feel like I don't have much more to say. I think this is not your notes. What is this? Oh my God. He was not making notes. That was all fake.
I didn't need notes.
This was an act. I don't think it shouldn't happen. I'm just saying my stance is that I feel like it ruins the sanctity and the power of their confrontation in A New Hope. It doesn't ruin it, but I think it detracts from how monumental that moment would be if that was their first interaction following, the events on Mustafar. But if what you are saying does happen to be the case and they do it right, which I would have no doubt that if this showdown of the century is to happen, that they would not have all hands on deck to make sure that they do it 100% correctly in a way that would not diminish the power of their meeting in A New Hope. So I hope that it is how you say it will be, and that if anything, it will enhance the moment.
Yeah. I think the reason that people are so hesitant and afraid to say that they want them to meet in person is because they're afraid that the justification for going against what George Lucas originally intended will not be strong enough. Prime example is the justification for Luke being isolated on Octo.
Well, we're not going to get into that.
And I think that's why people are afraid to see them meet face to face, because if it is just some like, oh, they were both at Dex's Diner on Tatooine and they happen to run into each other and then they just start fighting, or Dex's Diner on Coruscant and they're getting a cup of coffee, and then Dex is like, oh, Obi-Wan, like, there's someone here in the back. I think you might want to meet him.
That would never happen in a million years.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like a coincidental, zero emotional weight meeting obviously would be horrible.
This confrontation cannot take away from what already exists, but if it adds to it and makes it more well-rounded, and if it is epic to a point that nobody would care at all and all of our fears would be alleviated, then that is fine.
I just have to say that if the writers have thought about what will be the most emotional storyline, what will have the biggest weight and impact on the state of the galaxy and the state of these characters, then this show will be like no other show ever created. They have in their hands the opportunity to play with emotions and create an emotional impact in the audience like very few creatives have had in the past. And they have a chance to create something really, really, really special. And if you had to pick between a show that was conservative and concerned about strictly preserving their meeting in Revenge of the Sith and then their meeting in A New Hope, they have not seen each other, interacted whatsoever for 20 years in between those movies. If you had to pick that or a show that said, you know what, there is something that happened, and this event that happened changed the galaxy, changed the way the Empire works, changed the way that Yoda and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan communicate and are protecting the children, changed the way that Bail Organa and Leia and the rebellion forms, changed the way that Vader is as a character. If they take those things on, then it will enhance Revenge of the Sith. It will enhance A New Hope. It'll enhance Obi-Wan's line where he says he's more machine now than man, twisted and evil, showing Obi-Wan realizing what has become of his old apprentice. And they're going to show Vader's inner turmoil. If they show what Vader's dealing with, and they show what Obi-Wan's dealing with, and his horrific nightmares and flashbacks to Order 66, like if they think about the emotional impact that they can have, then I have full faith in what this show is going to do. And I would take a show that does that and achieves that kind of emotional impact and makes that kind of weight on the Star Wars timeline than a show that the only two parameters of the show, and as soon as they write the script, they say, okay, they meet in Revenge of the Sith, and they don't see each other again until A New Hope. Anakin and Vader meet Obi-Wan right in between Episode 3 and Episode 4, and they say, why does this happen? What are the results of this happening? What leads up to this happening? And what happens when it happens? That's the show I want to see.
Well, let's hope that's what they did, because it's in post-production now, so. Alrighty, guys. That was it. This is a video that we've wanted to make, a little debate that we have wanted to hash out for a long time now. We have literally, been on the brink of arguing about this, and then we're like, no, save it for the video. So
let us know what you guys think.
All right, you heard the man. Comment down below which side you guys are on. You do not have to pick sides. I'm not trying to start fights or anything, but we're curious to hear where you guys stand, since we know that this was a very polarizing announcement when Kathleen Kennedy made the bold statement that there would be a showdown of a century happening in this show. So feel free, if you're comfortable. This is a safe space. Share your thoughts below. We would love to hear and comment with you guys. We'll probably comment back and forth and talk more about it in the comments. So let us know down below. Thank you guys, as always, so much for watching. If you would like to see me and Tom debate more, do some more couch chats, let us know. And of course, let us know if you liked this, and who knows, maybe we would do this in a live stream setting again as the show approaches and have you guys interact. Thank you guys so much for watching. May the Force be with you guys always. And we will see you guys again very, very soon.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye, guys.